Today we're going to take a look at tightening the gearbox screws for the Zerno Z1 grinder. In case your grinder is making some noise, it sounds like it's turning, but the shaft on the front is not turning, then the gearbox screws may be a little loose. And they would need to be tightened. Luckily, it's a pretty simple process. So this is what the gearbox on the Zerno Z1 looks like. It's a precision metal gear gearbox, and this is the part that attaches it to the motor. It's a split color with two bolts over here. And our goal is using a 2.5mm screwdriver to actually tighten these two bolts. So if I rotate the shaft of the gearbox, the color will rotate. So there are two screw holes, one on each side, and through there, just like this, we gotta tighten them up a little bit so they couple with the motor a little better, so the motor doesn't slip. So that's the real trick to it, and this is a good visual aid, since once this is installed in the grinder, we'll just be able to see the screw holes, and we would have to align the low bolts by turning the shaft. So if the shaft turns, the low bolts align just like this. So we're gonna do it both through one hole. So we're gonna tighten one screw, we're gonna turn the shaft, and we're gonna tighten the other screw as well. So without further ado, we are going to get started. So for this, we're gonna need two screwdrivers, one 2.5, one 3 for the back of the motor. So I'm gonna start by taking the adjustment assembly off using the 2.5 screwdriver, just like I would if I was cleaning a coffee grinder. And this one actually does have some coffee in it, so I've left it just the way you would see it in real life. Adjustment assembly comes off. Leave the pre-breaker in. We're doing that just so we can actually easily turn the gearbox shaft by turning the pre-breaker. That's a little trick that we do. So we're gonna turn the back side of the grinder. We're gonna take these two bolts off. Your rear assembly may look a little different. Your cap may look a little different. These are some of our new caps. They're stainless steel. They're pretty heavy, and we loosen the fit on those a little bit. So if yours is tight or attached to the rear cover, fret not. That's how they're supposed to be. So I'm holding this guy because again, it's pretty loose and it's very heavy, and it may fall if I don't hold it. So it's the rear cap. I'm gonna take it off. This is a test grinder, so there's some marker over there. I'm gonna pull off the rear cover just like this. If yours is a little tight, again, that is by design. So this is the coffee grinder, and this is the gearbox. Actually, I will use the screwdriver. By the way, we're performing all of this with the grinder unplugged, and it's probably a good idea. Turn it on a couple of times just to discharge the capacitors after you unplug it. Definitely do not do this with the grinder plugged in. Pretty important. So yeah, this is the gearbox right here. This is where the screw hole is, right here. You may see it turned 90 degrees, so you may actually see it on one of the sides. Since the gearbox can be installed two ways, we usually try to install it where the hole actually sticks up, so you can see where it is. It's a little easier to work that way. And you can see half the hole. There is a little gasket over there, so we're just gonna very carefully push it back, and you can actually see the screw in there. So looking in there, which is a little difficult to do on camera, but looking in there, we're gonna turn the pre-breaker very lightly until we see the screw. Screw should be pretty visible, just have some light on top of it, and then using the screwdriver, you're gonna feel the screw engage actually, so you can actually feel it engage. Tighten it well, tighten it very well. So this has to be pretty tight. There we go, just like this. And I'm gonna disengage the screwdriver. looking in the hole. I'm gonna turn the pre-breaker until the other screw is visible. Put the screwdriver in there, tighten. Again, tighten it well. And that is the whole operation of tightening the screws. Now we're gonna put the grinder back together, make sure all the cables are tucked in, rear cover goes in. Yeah, we'll likely need to wiggle it a little bit. And then little cap goes on here, just like this. I'm holding the cap, as you can see, while I put in the screws. Again, the new stainless ones, they look great. They're pretty heavy. Just lightly tighten the screw. We'll do the other one. Just lightly tighten as well. I'm gonna tighten them a lot more. These do not need to be extremely tight. Bam. And now I'm gonna put our pre-breaker back in, and we're gonna assemble the front of the grinder. Make sure that everything is clean. Follow the cleaning video if you need to. Make sure there's no coffee grounds anywhere on the surfaces that are actually made together. I usually put in the 2 bolts since they help me get everything together pretty easily. And just like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and tighten the 2 bolts together. At this point, our grinder should function normally. Plug it in, and give it a try. If it still slips, a likely cause of that is maybe we got confused and we tightened only one of the screws. Again, for this design, we actually have to tighten both screws, since tightening only one would cause the whole mechanism to slip a little bit. So when turning, just make sure that you align both screws and you don't tighten the same screw twice. So that's that for the tightening the gearbox of the Zerno Z1.